the announcement. Thanks, Darren, by the way.
Thanks, Adrian.
Announcement, confirmation overnight that Paddy Tally is going to become the new Down coach. He was ratified yesterday evening. He's left his role with Galway, obviously. Danny Hughes, I'm delighted to say, is joins us on the line. Morning to you, Danny.
Morning.
Thanks.
How are you?
Very good. Thanks a lot for taking the call. You worked with him, obviously, during the James McCartan reign, I think, at Down. Best coach I ever played under, Danny, was the quote that we had from you at the time. What makes this guy so special?
I think his relationship with players is very much a big part of Paddy. There's a great emphasis on the football as well, which is always, from a player's perspective, is always something that most players would relish when they go to training, is the fact that the cones might be out, but the balls are also there as well. And I suppose that's a big thing from a player perspective, and it's not just running drills for the sake of drills and stuff like that. But no, I think his relationship with players is probably Paddy's strongest point. You feel very easy in his company. You feel that you can have a chat with him, very honest one, and he doesn't make promises that he doesn't keep. He's just very, very honest. If you're not, no matter how things are going, he'll always have your best interests at heart. So he's a very honest guy and very professional. He's big into his culture of the team, attitude, and giving players what they need to succeed as opposed to what they want to succeed. So I suppose that's the main things I would say about Paddy.
We might loop back on some of that in a little bit, but just like it does strike me as you're talking there about the various traits that he has. Like, they're going to be challenged in a much more significant way now that he's stepping into a senior inter-county role, in terms of that trust of the squad, in terms of making promises that he's got to keep. Like, suddenly when you're the main man in that dynamic, it challenges those things in a way that probably it doesn't when you're a selector on the team.
Well, that's true. I suppose he's taken as a number one. He's taken St Mary's College to an unlikely Sigerson Cup. So, yes, albeit he has been a number two in a lot of the places that he's been, with Down, with Galway, with Derry and Tyrone. But success has followed him, or relative success anyway has followed him in those number two roles. And I think he's, Paddy's 45 now. He's in the prime probably of his coaching career, and this is a great opportunity. I feel it's a great opportunity as a Down man that he takes over a team that's sitting, I suppose, after getting relegated to Division 3, not in great shape, to be honest, and players that are either turning down the invitation to play for the county or opting to leave. So I think Paddy will go a long way to arresting all those things and to developing a real good attitude in the squad, and a good feeling as well, because the Down supporters have, we've been without medals and trophies for a significant period of time. Yes, we went to an All-Ireland final in 2010, and we were very competitive in Division 1 for a good couple of years after that. But unfortunately, things have deteriorated, and unfortunately, the good feeling around the place at that time wasn't built on, and now hopefully we can start to build on this with this appointment.
It's interesting, a lot of the things you say there, Danny, because I think the perception of Paddy Tally has been quite a cold one, that he's an excellent coach, excellent at drilling his players and getting a system in place that can sustain itself in modern Gaelic football. Galway, obviously, a perfect example. But from the way you're talking, it's almost as if he's going to be perfectly suited to being a manager, because I haven't heard somebody really saying it in as much detail as you've said it there, that he's such a good people person, and changing that attitude is going to be the thing that he brings most to Donegal, rather than a better system like he brought to Galway over the past year.
Well, listen, of course he's got the tactical nous, and he's, the modern way of football is, I suppose, is different than even when I played. You've got defensive formations and whatnot, and people will say about Galway being defensive and stuff during the year. Up until 53 minutes when they played Dublin, they were still only 3 points behind, having missed a penalty and having not taken their chances in the first half. So, there's an argument there that Galway, the decision making on the day was poor, and they were in a semi-final of an All-Ireland, and they learned from that. But from a people's and a man management perspective, he is, Paddy is a very ambitious fella as well. He wouldn't have taken name teams. He wouldn't take on name gigs as a number 2 if he wasn't ambitious. He's always looking to learn. He's got a good backroom team in there as well. So this is a challenge for him. But I've no doubt that he can take on this challenge and win it. There was myself and 4 other individuals involved in getting him appointed. So we as a group, as a committee, wouldn't have appointed him if we didn't feel that he was up to the job. I more than believe that he is up to the job. I'm more confident than I've ever been that Down will be, within 3 years, Down could be very competitive again once more in Ulster, which is very important, and hopefully playing Division 1 football. So there's no doubt that Down, the free-flowing game, the make it up as you go along, will be more structured. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that Down will score, and they've always had that wee bit of class going forward. So I don't see how Paddy can't build on all those, I suppose, genetic characteristics of Down footballers, and just make them very, very competitive.
Was that a straightforward process, Danny? We weren't aware actually that you were involved in the process. Was it straightforward enough? Because there would have been. We actually had Stephen Poacher on a few weeks ago. We were sort of half facetiously suggesting to him that he'd be involved there somewhere along the line. There's some past players, I'm sure, who would have been interested in it as well. So, yeah, was that a straightforward process?
You see, I suppose, to be fair to the Down County Board, I've been critical of them in the past, and maybe it was a smart move on their behalf as an ex-player, as somebody had been critical, saying, right, you think you can do any better, here you go. So maybe it was very clever on their behalf to do that, but I do believe that things should be done professionally, done the right. I understand some of the people involved were very, very vocal in their ambitions to become Down manager, and they were very bullish about it. But early in the process, we, as a committee, I suppose, identified the type of people that we wanted to take over Down, and Paddy fitted that criteria brilliantly. And obviously he was involved in Galway, and you have to respect Galway, and you have to respect Paddy as an individual. We couldn't talk to him, we wouldn't talk to him until I suppose he had made decisions with Galway and talked to Kevin Walsh and seen what the lie of the land was there. When I suppose when Paddy was making his mind up, then I suppose we could go and talk to him and have a chat and get things done pretty quickly. But as I say, I personally, my own personal preference was not. I don't think if you're going to appoint a manager, you should headhunt the man that you want. I think interviews and flirting with other people really doesn't do you any good in the long term. So so it was a difficult process. You're taking a lot of risks with it, but it's something I enjoyed, and it's something that I was very clear and very focused on, and making sure we got the right person and I think we've done that.
What sort of traits were you looking at, Danny, in that regard? Because if you look at Down football, obviously, and you've already pointed out that they've come in for some criticism over the last couple of years. There was obviously a big defeat to Donegal in Ulster this year. They lost to Cav, and I know there was an Ulster final last year, but it felt almost like an outlier for Down over the last few years. So, in that context, what sort of character or what sort of manager were you looking for?
Well, I think we're looking at somebody that will go about their business in a very professional manner. As somebody that will, will understand the culture down, which Paddy does because he was involved. I suppose that, if we had won in All Ireland, he would have become an honorary Down citizen, I would have said that. But at the end of the day, we were looking at somebody who's very, very professional, has had success behind him, which he has, and goes about their business in a very low-key but yet professional manner. I suppose everybody looks to the Dublin model, the Jim Gavin model, and sees, how can you raise the bar in their own county, and I would always think that Dublin is the bar. Other teams, yes, are getting there. Donegal have got there in the past and stuff like that, and Tyrone, of course. You look at what Mickey Hart's done this year. It's really remarkable what he's done as well. So the bar is there in Ulster, the bar is there in Ireland, and I believe that Paddy Tally knows where that bar is, and I believe that they can achieve that as long as players buy in. And I believe he's the best man manager to make sure that we don't hemorrhage any more players, that we don't lose players to America or London, and that we can put in professional, professional backgrounds there with the wider team to make sure that the players have everything they need to succeed. Because it's not just as simple now as turning up at training, and doing your training. There's a lot of stuff there in the background, like rehabilitation, rehabilitation, a lot of medical stuff and science stuff that needs done, GPS, all that kind of stuff. So Paddy's very au fait with all that new way of coaching, new way of managing. So that's really what we're looking for. It's not an exhaustive list, but it's definitely something that's based around culture, discipline, and ultimately success, and wanting to be involved in down football. So Paddy fitted all that criteria for me from early on. So to be fair to the Down County Board, they give us a free rein to go and get the best person we can, and I have to commend them. They were very supportive the whole way through. So if there's anything that's good to come out of that, is the fact that they have shown this willingness to engage in people that's not yes men, that that they're prepared to hand over responsibility to others. So I definitely thought that was a good thing.
Yeah, Benny Coulter looks like he's going to be involved in the setup as well, Danny. What's he? Is he a sort of man who's accustomed perfectly to going into an intercounty setup? It looks like he's going to learn a bit from Paddy Tally. Surely, I'm sure most people would. Is he cut out for it? I guess is what I'm trying to ask, for the big tough intercounty setup.
Benny's a coaching officer with Down at the minute, so he's well aware of the players that are in Down. He's also been to be fair, through my whole career, he's been our best player, most iconic player. He's played for Ireland, represented Ulster, Ireland, without a doubt, Benny is a name. Benny Coulter is a name synonymous with Down football in the modern time. So I think it's a tip of the hat to him. It's a tip of the hat to our era that's come through as well, and that modern modern way of thinking about football. Benny's also, I suppose, manager of his own club in Mirror-Bridge, and he'll probably have to step away, but he'll be well aware of the players that's throughout the county, and the players that's coming through as well, to be fair, from minor to under 20. So he's got a great knowledge of football, and again, I think Benny's always been a fan favourite as well there. So I think it's a tip of the hat to him, and as I definitely, I think it's a very positive thing that he's involved as well. And then you've got Gavin McGilly, who led Tyrone club team Moy to the intermediate club final as winners last year, and Stephen Bailey. So you've got a great diverse coaching background there, and there's a lot of other stuff going on in the background that will hopefully make Down a much more competitive and better team.
Yeah, before we let you go, Danny, we do want to ask you obviously about the big game next weekend. Some wild rumours, as they're being reported, as that Conor McKenna, I don't know if you've seen these, but that Mickey Hart's been in contact with Conor McKenna, and he's prepared to come back from the AFL to get involved with this game next weekend. I mean, I don't know, wild rumours is how they're described, and potentially that's the way it just plays out. But are you giving Tyrone any shake in this game?
Well, as for the rumour one, I suppose Conor McKenna, unless Mickey Hart came out and said, yes, I've contacted him and he's willing to come back, I would take it with a pinch of salt for a couple of reasons. One, if he did come back, how would that go down in the wider panel? I would think
not
that somebody
well, I'd
say. That's pushing hard in the wider panel would be a bit aghast to think that somebody is coming home to help them out. But listen, it's not without the realms of possibility given Stephen O'Neill in 08 and stuff like that. So do I give Tyrone a chance? Tyrone would need to have an exceptional offensive tactic up their sleeve, which I think they will need to. I think in 05 and 07 they put in a really, really good couple of defensive tactics to negate obviously the Donegues, the Walshes of that era and stuff like that. So they're going to have to come up with something offensively. That's the first thing. And the second thing is Dublin need to have a bit of an off day as well, I feel, because how can you question this Dublin team at this stage? 3 All-Irelands going for 4 in a row. They have proved that there's a really strong bench there as well. Boys that are coming off the bench, All-Ireland winners like Kevin McManaman, Paul Flynn. Like, they have a serious backroom, back up there to come through. So how can you question Dublin at this stage? And I think the 4 in a row is coming, and it could be 5 and 6.
Yeah.
In the next couple of years. So listen, you're not gonna lose out of watching Dublin play football. They do play football in a brilliant way, but from a hope perspective, of course, from a northern perspective, you will want Tyrone to win. But football is not going to be any the worse for Dublin winning because of the way they play. So I think it's all Dublin. If I was to say there's a 65-70% chance of Dublin winning, that's where I put Tyrone's chances. But it definitely will be more competitive and closer than it was in last year's semi-final. But I would say Dublin by 4 or 5.
I'm delighted to say we're joined on the line by the Galway football manager, Kevin Walsh. Good morning to you, Kevin.
How are you doing? How are you keeping?
Very good. Thanks a lot for taking the call this morning. We want to talk to you a little bit about Tyrone, Dublin, but if you'll permit us, Paddy Tally obviously has been confirmed overnight as the new down football manager, meaning that he's going to leave your setup a loss, I'm sure.
Yeah, look at Paddy. We had him for the year there, and Paddy be very committed, and obviously he's got bigger things to fulfill in his life, and I suppose it's his first job, I think, heading into the number 1 role. So, it's a good opportunity for him, and it's not too far from home. And met Paddy last week with a good chat about things. So, it's heading into with St Mary's and coaching for so long, it'll be his first time in the front seat.
Yeah, we were talking to Danny Hughes about it a bit earlier on, and sort of that notion of exactly that thing, that point that you make. It's a different beast, isn't it, being the selector to the main man?
It is, of course, yeah. But I suppose look, at some point, when the ambition is there to do that, it's a good place for him to get and to try. It's a new challenge for him, and it certainly is a different beast.
So he asked you for your advice, I'm sure. What did you tell him?
Don't get out of
it. Don't do it.
Don't do it. I know. Look, we had a good chat about it last week, and obviously these decisions and this change coming up, people often can be afraid or don't like change, and you have to admire people that put themselves out there to challenge themselves at the highest level, and all that comes with it. So there'll be plenty of flack coming during the year to every manager, and you're going to have to take that. But at the same time, there's a lot of good in those challenges that you set up for yourself as well.
Yeah. The transformation is probably a bit of a strong word, but the improvement that Galway have made from last season to this season is stark. It's been one of the stories of the year. To what extent was that a collaborative experience between you and Paddy? Was it mostly you and then Paddy kind of executed it, or how did it work?
In fairness, it's when you bring in new, fresh voices, it's always good, and when you bring people with a background of knowledge, that's always good as well. So you work that together. I suppose that maybe with all it's been, is the likes of down now. It'll be interesting to see, where I'm sure they'll be watching what kind of tactical stuff goes on and stuff. But we would have worked well together. I think it's a case of when you start off with any team, the foundations are your philosophy and what you believe in and what you're going to stick to, and if you have a vision and a plan. You're going to get plenty of flack for the first year or two in trying to execute that. But at the end of the day, I think sport has gone to a level now. It's not about entertainment. You have to be looking at winning as well. So It's a case of that vision and plan going forward, and you driving it and standing by it. And well, that's something that Paddy or any manager is going to have. And there'll be tough days at the start, and but you work together, you get the best around you, and you try to drive that plan forward as much as possible. So, I think even getting Paddy in last year and the year gone by, it's funny. Paddy would mainly have done on the attacking side for us, and so I don't expect straight away that Down are going to be seen as a defensive team, because Paddy would have plenty of knowledge of attack, and that's mainly where he was with us, to be honest.
You mentioned taking flack there, Kevin. Do you feel that this Galway team, your Galway team, over the past season has got a lot of flack?
But to be honest, I don't really care about the flack, because the flack you're talking about is probably from outside. So look, that's just a kind of a game that's been played by certain people that like to keep at that. So we don't really get involved with it, to be honest. And I always talk about India accounts. The flack I would be worried about, the flack I would give myself, and we will give plenty of flack to ourselves if we feel we've failed in certain areas. We do that all the time. We'll do that again this year. But at the end of your account, all we can do is, where has this team come from? Has it gone from 14 up to 8, 8 up to 5, 5 up to 2 or 3? That's the end of your accounts we do. Regardless what flag comes behind that, we don't really care. We'll do it. The flag that really makes a difference for us and we will do this, is the flag we give ourselves. And that's the only way you can improve.
Kevin, we'd John Kiley in last week. He was in a similar enough sort of position to yourself, obviously having gotten so close that you can almost touch it, and then obviously to fall at the final hurdle. John Myler rather than John Kiley, who was a very different story this summer. And he was talking about that whole dynamic and the pain of it, and sort of that whole process of trying to get over it. Where are you at, like a couple of weeks on at this stage?
Look, where am I at? Personally, need to review. That's where at the minute. It's when you have set yourself targets, and every team bar one is going to fall at some hurdle, and I'm always conscious of that in 10 years of this crack now. So there's always going to be a day that you're going to have to just realise that the season is over, and whether that's at the very final team or not, there's only one out of 32 is going to win that. So you have to be realistic, and you have to look properly at the year. You have to look at the mirroring image. You have to look at ourselves. So at the minute we're probably going to be getting together to look at ourselves, and we'll take it from there and see where we go from here. But as I said, at the end of every match, you've got large backroom teams, a large amount of players, lives, circumstances change, all that type of stuff goes on. So it's a new year, and I suppose we just have to look to see where we're at.
Is that kind of helicopter level stuff at this stage, or are you already in the minutiae looking back at the loss to the Dubs, or like what sort of level is that at?
It's at a level, I suppose, that people are taking holidays, different things like that. So the real deep chatting hasn't probably taken place yet. So it's a case of everybody just winding down, getting the thoughts together, and see where it goes from there.
In terms of obviously looking ahead to next weekend and the prospect that lies in store from a Tyrone point of view, were there things that, looking back at the game, or thoughts that you had in terms of, I'm sure Mickey Hart has analysed the hell out of it, that you might have done differently, or that Tyrone might be able to implement?
Look, I think when you're playing Dublin in Croke Park, and there's a lot of factors against you, and that's number one. So you're going to have to be ready to be almost, well, not almost, at the very top. And I suppose if you look at, you're going to have to convert your chances, and I think that would be a huge thing for us. But at the same time, I've got to be realistic in this and understand that was probably the first time that nearly all those guys had out in front of 60,000 and shouting and roaring and stuff that goes on. So I think it's important for every team to get to Croke Park as often as possible, because you really have a few factors to deal with. As I said to you, the goalposts aren't as visible as they would be in pitches that people have played in. I suppose that's something that where teams are going to have to really work at, because Dublin has a huge advantage in that area. So this Dublin team were there, so 2011, 2013. So their familiarity goes way back, where the younger teams now are going to have to deal with that. And I suppose the Mayos of this world, who came on the scene the same time in 2013 as this Dublin team, would be a lot more used to those environments. So that environment is a huge. It's a barrier to get over, but look, everyone has to get over that.
What do you think Mickey Hart is going to do next weekend, Kevin?
Look, Mickey is long enough in the game. He's going to have to, as you said, analyse the hell out of all games, not just our game. And he's going. The team are going to have to take their chances. And I suppose number one, they're going to have to make the chances. And I think if to look at anything, we had probably something like 17, 18 good chances. There weren't shots from all over the place, but we didn't convert half of what we should have converted, and that may have just put a little bit of pressure on the Dubs. And then second half, obviously, maybe a bit of doubt in the mind, and we that 15 minutes we certainly pushed up. If we're going to get bet by 2, we'll have to get bet by 7 or 8, and we leaked a lot of late points because of that. But that's all part of the learning process. So I suppose Mickey will have to analyse everything, and he's going to have to know he's going to have to take his chances.
Like, it took them a while to get to grips with Ian Burke, obviously. That might be one thing that sort of maybe surprised a few people that maybe took Dublin so long, and maybe something that gives Tyrone a bit of hope here.
I don't think it's down to one player. I think John Armstrong had 2 or 3 chances. Shane Welch 2 or 3 chances. Damien had early chances. Just 2 or 3. The penalty chance obviously missed. There's another goal chance missed. So it wasn't just one person. I think you're going to have everybody at this. You're going to have runners all over the place. You're going to have to make space, and hard enough to make space, but you're going to have to be doing that. And I don't think that this can be a case that you're kind of hoping that one player is going to deliver here for Tyrone. Everyone's going to have to be firing, and everyone's going to be working really hard.
That making space is quick movement of ball, and like, obviously there's a fatigue factor obviously involved in all of that, and we've seen how a lot of teams that can live with Dublin to sort of 55 minutes and then fall away. Like, is there almost a fitness factor in that to a degree?
Yeah, again, I suppose it's if you can dictate the game, and the one way that dictating the game is to be leading. And I think if you get your chances early on and you take them and you win the game, you can start dictating at your pace. So that's something that I suppose most teams should be aspiring to, is to put themselves in a position that that they don't leave in the opposition with a ball handler type of activity going on, where they can hold the ball and hit in the counter. So that's going to be crucial early on. If the chances are made, number one, and that they're taken. And if they're taken, and you can be in a position to at least try to control the game, you give yourself a chance.
Good stuff, Kevin. Thanks a million for taking the call.
No problem, really.
That's the Galway manager, Kevin Walsh, there, previewing the Dublin-Tyrone game for us and reflecting as well in the news that Paddy Tally is the new dour manager.